Literacy was a sign of status in ancient Egyptian society. Extraordinarily few ancient Egyptians were literate. Some people say only 1%. I imagine it was probably a little more than that. Horemheb here was an extremely important person in ancient Egyptian society. He chooses to emphasize his literacy by having himself represented seated on the floor with a papyrus roll on his lap. His right hand would have held a rush brush. The ancient Egyptians recorded so many different aspects of their life. This is in the cursive script, demotic. It's a marriage contract. We know something about schools in ancient Egypt. The inscription on the front of this statue tells us that Bechenkons here went to school for 4 years as a child. We learn that after school, he spent 11 years as an apprentice scribe in the royal stables. His education would have continued here, but he would have also learnt chariotry. We only have evidence for boys going to school. No evidence for girls being schooled, although there's some evidence for female literacy. One ancient text says, "He who works in writing is not taxed, nor has he any dues to pay." We see the young men here with their rush brushes tucked behind their ears, diligently writing. And we have examples of their palettes. On the right there, the rush brushes tucked into the palette, 2 cakes of ink. On the left is a rubber to smooth the papyrus before writing. Schoolboys would have had their writing kit always with them. The scribal palette, the brush holder, and the little bag for the pot for holding the water to lubricate the ink. Sometimes sketches, which at first appear purely to be images of animals, are in fact studies for hieroglyphs. On the right there, the vulture is the hieroglyph Aleph. And the image of the owl is in fact a study for the hieroglyph M. Papyrus was expensive, so schoolboys would have written very often on flakes of limestone such as this one. They're writing not in hieroglyphs, but in the cursive script, this one hieratic. Schoolboys were urged to work hard. One ancient text reads, "Spend the day writing with your fingers, whilst reading by night. Befriend the papyrus roll and the palette. It pleases more than wine." We know that as well as learning how to read and write, schoolboys learnt mathematics. This is the Rhind mathematical papyrus, with problems involving triangles and pyramids here. We also know that at school, boys learnt music. We can see one here, his harp resting on a stand. The ancient Egyptians didn't have musical notation, so they would have learnt by ear. We also know that life at school could be tough. We have evidence for the punishment of schoolboys by beating. There's an ancient Egyptian expression, "A boy's ear is upon his back. He hears when he is beaten."